Major Atul Mehta. Today, my question to you is, do you really feel like, as a senior citizen, responsible senior citizen, do you really feel that enough is being done regarding this COVID-19?
Okay, you took me off guard on this. I was expecting a question on management theories and related to human capital management. But on other thought, I think you're absolutely bang on because this has to do with human capital a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, almost like the entire world is involved in it today.
Exactly.
So, thank you for the question. It's a good question. And also, thank you for calling me responsible. I just got off from a conversation on the phone with my wife, and she was calling me anything except responsible. But that's okay. That's her viewpoint sometimes about me. Now, coming back to that other aspect about being a senior citizen, responsible citizen, I would say that these days even the younger generation is responsible, and in fact it is their future which is linked directly to what is happening today. We've lived our lives quite a bit, and now these are the people who are going to look forward to what legacy we're going to leave behind. So it's not about being a senior citizen as such. It's about being a concerned citizen, and not only citizen of our own country, but citizen of the world. Because I understand that there are about 187 countries impacted as on date by this particular phenomena of COVID-19. Now, coming from there, your question is very interestingly phrased. Enough, you said. Right?
Yeah.
You said, is enough being
Yeah,
done?
yeah.
Now, I really wonder how can, when it comes to human life form, or for that matter, any life form, how can you fix an enough there? Nothing is enough. And especially when such a pandemic is happening, and so many sectors are being impacted by it, enough can never be enough. So if, let's say, the US of A is patting themselves on the back and saying, we're doing enough, or, Europe is doing enough for their, citizens, or, Korea is doing enough, or India is doing enough, I think it's a very irrelevant kind of a, statement in the context of a human life form. Nothing is as valuable, as a human life.
Right.
What is happening today can offset and upset huge, build-ups which have happened till date, on ground. Everything can just crumble like a house of cards. It can happen. I mean, if you don't take adequate care and if you don't handle it right. The human life form, again, why I keep on insisting on it, not because I am from a human capital management background. I keep on saying this because when we are breathing and alive and healthy, we can fight back. We are resilient, and whatever kind of dwindles and crumbles around us during this time, we can always rebuild it. It's happened. And look at Japan, starting from World War, that nuclear holocaust which happened on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah.
And then later on, the nuclear plant leaked, and then tsunamis happening, and then, earthquakes keep on happening, on a daily basis there. So they still came back. Each time, every 10-15 years, something is happening. Whether it's a force majeure or it is created by humans, well, they have fought it well and they've done it. So the question itself, that is enough being done, is, I feel, a little incorrectly phrased. There can never be enough in this department, in this area. So let nobody pat themselves on the back. India, UK, US, Canada, whatever. Nobody should be patting themselves on the back. Enough, we are doing enough. There can never be enough, number one. Number two, I firmly believe this, that life is like arithmetic. You take certain steps, right steps.
Yeah.
And whether the solution is right, it results in the final solution being the correct one or not, at least you're going to get marks for the step.
Yes.
So, are we taking the right steps? That's more relevant. I think we should rephrase the question by saying that is enough being done? Are the right steps being taken up?
Yeah, actually.
right? You agree?
Yeah.
I mean, it's again like, I'll give you another analogy. You start buttoning up your shirt, in the morning, and you start with putting the first button in the wrong hole, and then you get a full shirt which is buttoned up wrong.
Yeah, totally.
Right? So, are we taking the right steps? Now, if you ask me from that standpoint, I am afraid we may not be taking the right steps. I'll tell you why. I may be saying something which may sound really far-fetched and, just too grand, in a very sweeping manner I'm saying some serious statement. No. It's coming from the reports on the television, and I got no means for any statistical data coming to me directly from the government. I'm not a government authority. I'm not even a medical person. I'm not even a spiritual person, for that matter. It's all coming to me from the government-run channels and news.
Yeah.
And what's worrying me most is that the people who are being tested, that is a matter of concern to me out here in our country. I mean, out of 1 million, last week we were standing at 3 people per million. I mean, 3 people in 10 lakh are being tested out.
Yeah.
And I think over a week the numbers have improved a little bit, wee bit. I mean, out of 1 million now, 9 are being tested. Now, if you look at global kind of ratio, we are pathetic right now. I will not mince my word on it. We are pathetic on the ratio of people being tested by the million. It should dramatically go up because management, I have done a lot of army work behind me in my past years, and I have done a lot of corporate work, in the recent past.
Yeah.
Both these organizations, I mean the corporate scenario, corporate area and the defense management, everybody talks about a simple theory which will give success in whatever situation. And that is measure what you want to manage. The theory goes that you cannot manage what you cannot measure. We are putting the wrong button in the wrong hole right at the beginning. If we are not measuring how many people exactly are suffering from this COVID-19, how many people are active carriers, how many people are going to infect more people, that calculation, that basic calculation right from step 1 goes wrong. So when you're not measured correctly, it's again, very typical, it's becoming very typical of our governments. I mean, I'm not talking about any particular political party. I mean, the government is just into, that particular luxury of being seen in action. Which is good because there are many governments who don't even, across the world, who do not even act. They're just passive watchers to whatever is happening around them and letting nature and God take its own course. But then of late, there are so many things which have happened that I'm forced to say this, that we hardly go for any measurement before we take a decision or we start managing things. And obviously, whatever you are not measured cannot be managed. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So, to answer your question on this, and specifically because you asked me that question, although I would like to rephrase that question, but no, the enough part will never be enough for any government across the world today. What you do is less, but more relevant is, are we taking the right steps? I don't think we're taking the right steps. I think we will not be able to take the right steps till the time we dramatically increase the number of people who are going through the tests. Because I do keep on traveling and I do keep on hearing, getting reports from my various offices. We do video conferencing, and my mother is also staying in a different town, so I have to look after her also. So the feel which I get is that there may be many people going around, without being detected.
Yeah.
And they are going to be they're ticking time bombs.
True.
They can at any point in time, they can just trigger another blast.
Yeah.
Forget about responsible people or irresponsible people and all. But there are some people who are just plain illiterate. I mean, they are battling on a daily basis for getting their food, getting their dinner or getting their lunch. On a daily basis, they're struggling for it. Can we put the ownership on them? and say, oh, you be a responsible citizen and do it. I mean, this is another trend which is very disturbing in our part of the world. I mean, the governments have just started washing their hands off, and anything huge happening, the brunt is on the common man. Today, do you think that people who got a lot of money are going to suffer from the lockdowns and all? The rich people are not going to suffer. They're going to get into their luxury cars and move place A to place B, and their life will continue as it is. They'll stock stuff. It doesn't matter to them whatever stuff is coming at whatever price, they're going to buy. Who's going to be hit? The common man. And then can you turn around and say the common man was a fool, he was an idiot, he went around, spreading this. The poor guy doesn't even know how to spell COVID-19. Even I can't get it right, frankly, many a times. Even I struggle whether it's a novel corona or it is corona. Some people are floating around that WhatsApp message. The Dettol already has this thing. They're realizing that the corona is, about 4 to 5 strains of corona are there in different forms. So, do you expect a common man to understand what COVID-19 is about? We need to first test them, isolate them, have enough facilities for testing, isolating, treating, and then talk about, any further, kind of a measure. Mm-hmm. We are a huge country. We can do it. We are. The good part is that we are very docile as a public. So, frankly, even if you're going through a lot of inconvenience, it doesn't matter to us. We are very fatalistic. God has destined like that, and God has destined like this. So we are on that mode. Most of our population. So it's easy to handle a docile population. But let's also, not pass on the buck, to the common man alone. I agree that when it comes to people who are educated and who are in the glamour world and who are in the world of corporate and people who are high salaried and, they should understand, yes, and they should behave, if they're behaving responsibly, yes, definitely hang them. Do whatever you want to do with them. But how can you expect a common poor man who's a street worker? He literally doesn't understand what's happening around. He's bewildered right now. He says, black money, I am standing in lines. COVID-19 is here. I am not getting to get a train back to my hometown. So we must address the basics. Time that we took responsibility, at least for testing, if not anything else. At least increase the number of people you're testing. When you have the right numbers there, you have measured it correctly, then you'll manage it correctly. Maybe we are looking at a very, cozy picture at the moment. It's wrong to say cozy picture because even 10 people, human life again, can't be cozy, but comparatively, less alarming picture. So I would say no. The steps being taken, I don't feel that they are enough at the moment. Definitely, these things should be handled more aggressively and prioritizing them right. What is to be done, break that entire thing into a couple of steps. That to handle this emergency, I have to break this problem into 4 steps, 5 steps, out of which my priority is going to be this step. And that priority is going to be testing as per me. And if you don't get that right, then you get everything wrong. Remember that story about the wrong button in the wrong hole. Your entire shirt goes buttoned up wrongly. So I'm sorry I took more time, but then you asked me about something which I could not explain in a lesser time to you. So thank you, Jai Hind, and long live humanity.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time. Thank you.
My pleasure.